Hey everybody, I hope you're all having a great day so far, and I hope you all had a great Valentine's. Yeah, I had a nice one. Nothing too exciting, just what you'd expect. But yeah, let's go ahead and get to programming. So actually I have done some kind of exciting things on the stream front. First of all, I have a new to-do list thing. I was watching another game developer stream and he uses this program called OneNote to kind of do to-do lists and just take notes about random things. And I thought it was really nice because one thing I don't really like about Asana is that it's a little cumbersome if you want to just write notes, but even though it's really great for to-do lists. But in this you can actually do both. So for example, a lot of times on stream I'll just try to plan stuff out in my head, but maybe we can actually try to write it out here. So yeah, it's pretty nice. I have the animation system, and then this is like a more general to-do list. I kind of just brought everything over from Asana. Also, if you see here, I have been tinkering on this for a few weeks, trying to move around all the files into better namespaces. Mostly I just moved everything from the map and kind of just collapsed them all into like one layer of namespace instead of having the play.action logic or whatever, because the team building and the play phases share a lot of code, and rather than trying to separate them by like when the code is used, I'm now going to try to separate code by how it's used, which seems like the better way. There are some things I need to fix still, like in the loading phase, for example, and the map generation phase. They both have pretty much identical classes for networking, like this local timeout manager, and really the only difference between them is the type of tags that they use to get components. So at some point we'll go and probably try to combine those together, but not right now. But yeah, the game, it was kind of messy to do, so that's why I didn't want to do it on stream. And I should have, like, you should probably plan out your namespaces a little better than I did going forward, so you don't have this problem, but it's okay, it's all fixed now. And we can see everything still works. And the final thing I did is I actually have bought some new stream hardware, and it should come in the mail tomorrow, so hopefully by Monday I'll have everything set up. So I should have a better microphone and maybe even a face cam, which should be fun, I think. So yeah, look forward to that. But I guess let's get to the task at hand. So if we look at the to-do list, we're still trying to do movement animation, and we can see that we're working on the arc. Right now, I want to try and get the arc to look more natural, because it's basically complete. But like right here, it's a little weird. And I think it's mostly to do with the easing mode. So we might want to have another easing mode for that we call jump, where it's like kind of the opposite, because right now our easing mode starts slow here and then ends slow. But for jump, it actually should be slowest in the middle. No, actually, yeah, that's it might actually just look fine if it's linear, because the horizontal speed is always the same. So let's try that out. So we have cubic, just change this to linear, and I guess I'll see how that looks. Worst comes to worst, we'll need to have a separate easing for the arc function, but I don't really want to do, but yeah, I think that does look more natural. It's just is really slow right now, of course. Let's change this to just a 1 second timer. Okay, that's a little better. I mean, it's still a little strange, and I don't think I mean, it's not going to be completely natural because we don't use an actual, like, gravity parabola. So, but I'm just hoping that it'll look good enough. Maybe we lower the height. Let's change it to like 1.5. But I guess the problem is more just trying to find numbers that look good. And it's not quite as much about not quite as much about the code itself. Probably speed will be better as well because that's not dependent, like it's independent of the length. Well, that's pretty slow. Still looks like he's on the moon. Okay, that was probably the best so far. But yeah, I think I'm happy with it. So I think we can mark those as both complete. Okay, so now we need to go to rotation, and I have 2 options here. I guess I'll start from the UX standpoint. Where is it? Map, animations. Yeah, and this is actually just because it handles arc now. I guess it should just be called like the position mover, maybe. I'll just leave it for now. So I could try to move or add rotation into this class, but I have a feeling that it's going to like the rotation needs a lot of extra data that the linear movement doesn't, and so I'm afraid that if we try to add it, it will start to just bloat this class and make it try to handle too much. The only problem is some of this stuff. How would we do this for rotation? Because I guess this is the most, actually probably this part is the most confusing, or not confusing, but like the most involved script that we'd have to copy between both classes. Like here, so if we have a timer, we just copy that for rotation, and then speed, it'd be the same thing except we would do mathf. Well, we'd have to take it. Yeah, see, rotation is a little more complicated because you can move 2 ways, but we'd want to probably move the shortest way. So, but anyway, we do just a mathf absolute value between the difference. And so this would be the same. So I mean, it's really not. I mean, there'll be a some code duplication. And let's see. And this code we can probably move out to a static class somewhere because the only thing it has in common is the model ID and the layer. Okay, so I think that should work fine. So what do I want to call this? I could just call it the rotator, but that is, yeah, we need another class just to set a rotation, kind of like we do with the positioner. I guess we should do that first. So this will be, I guess I'll just call it the rotation setter. Kind of a weird name, but it does the trick. Unfortunately, I still haven't found a great way to have it default to this namespace, which is annoying to me, but it should be public. Close some of this stuff, so. And like lately Visual Studio, whenever I create a new class, has been like bringing this window up to the top, which is slightly annoying. Okay, I did not want to activate that. Okay, so rotation, setter, and I'll just have another position command. So let's just create another class. So that's up here in map, animations. So I'll just make another class for rotation commands, and we'll just combine some of these small classes together. Okay, so this will just be a set rotation command, and really it just needs the model ID and the rotation. Now, I'm trying to think, would there be any reason that the mods would ever want to rotate a model on something besides around the Z-axis or the Y-axis? Can't really think of any reason, but that couldn't just be handled as just a normal animation. So yeah, I'll just only do just a float. And I guess we can go ahead and do the okay, the rotation command. So the reason I'm pausing right now is because I want to reuse this enumeration, but it feels kind of strange to have it in another class. So I'm kind of thinking that maybe in another file, that all these commands are so small and interrelated that they should just be added together. Okay, so let's move that right there. I don't need to clutter up my file system with so many small little classes, I don't think. Why it takes so long to delete. Okay, so now I'll just copy this and we'll do rotation and animation command, I guess. No, that's fine, it can stay. The model ID and sub target position, we'd have float target angle. We'll need that, we'll need the animation layer and the weight handle and the easing, but we won't need arc height. The only other thing I can think of is that we should maybe, well no, what if you'd ever want to rotate around but not to a specific target? Well, we don't even support that with movement, so we can add like an endless argument or something if we have to do something like that. Okay, so rotation setter, and this will be set rotation command. And all I have to do here is, okay, so we have a get model position, so maybe I should just have a get model rotation as well. Public static quaternion get model rotation. And if you've never, we don't even need the metrics for this. If you've never seen a quaternion before, it's basically just how Unity handles rotation in 3D space. It's not really a really good way to explain it, but you can kind of think of them as a vector and then a rotation around the axis that that vector forms. It's not completely how they work, but it works for most cases. If you want to go down the rabbit hole, I do recommend looking them up in Wikipedia if you just want to see some really complicated math. But luckily for rotating objects, which is what we want to use, you don't have to know the inner workings of a quaternion. Okay, so here we just want to quaternion, and we'll do an axis angle, and the axis will be vector 3 up, and then we have the rotation. So, oh, is that not? Oh yeah, I think one of them is like, they don't want to use axis angle, they want you to use angle axis. It doesn't like that though. Okay, and then they flipped the arguments. So what this does is it just returns a rotation around this axis. So we want the axis to be straight up, and then we take this rotation. We might need to flip this. I'm not sure. We'll see. Right now, the game unit rotation space is the same as Unity's, so that makes it a little easier. I like to keep it that way because confusing otherwise, so I think it should just be fine like that. Okay, so we don't set the position, we just set the rotation. Equals hex math, get model rotation command. Okay, so before we go any further, let's have this actually execute when the game loads. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to find uses of this. Okay, yeah, so the monster model creator. That's the initial position, and we'll also have it set initial rotation. That's wrong. Rotate command. Equals claim message set rotation, and it needs to be another command archetype, which just means that there can be many claims to this message, but only one receiver. Okay, and I will just send a message on it. Set rotation command. Model ID is I, and rotation equals. Okay, I think that the monsters have a facing. Not facing. Yeah, except we need to get the rotation angle from the hex position. Oh yeah, get neighbor angle. Okay, so I think that's all I have to do there. One thing. Oh no, it is a position. Okay, our hex position. Never mind. I guess I should allow vector 3s here, but I'll wait and see if that ever needs to be something that works. Okay, so I think I need something to actually create this object now. And right now it's just the play subcontroller. It does all that, which I need to... Oh no, it doesn't. What creates this object? Oh yeah, the map controller. So another thing I don't like about the current system is that I have like all these creations in the controllers, and I think I want to move some of these out to like something else, but I haven't completely thought of what I want to do there yet. Okay, so let's see how... No errors, so if we play, I'm hoping that everything will just work. Been a long time to compile. There we go. Okay, so that one's still facing the right way, and that one is not. Okay, so let's, I guess I'll debug. Oh, you know what? I think the problem is the rotation command is given in radians. Yeah, we return everything in radians. So I guess, yeah, I need to go ahead and decide. I know Unity uses degrees, so I guess the game system will use radians because that's what the mathf, cosine and sine use, and that's how we'll mostly be using angles throughout the game. So on the rotation setter, I just need to multiply this by degrees, or radians 2 degrees. I was always confused by this because, oh, I have to do that inside. Actually, I should do it in the get model rotation. I was always confused why Unity's quaternions use degrees while their sine and cosine use radians. It's a little confusing to me. Okay, so I'm not sure if that's correct. I mean, they're both, yeah, it got rotated, but I'm not sure. I thought this one was supposed to be facing east. One way to tell is we can look into debug and see what each monster is supposed to be doing. Okay, no, it is northeast and southwest. So yeah, that's fine. Maybe I should do something not completely rotated to see if the angles are wrong, because this is like opposite. Oh, well no, they're both non-zero, so it got it right. If I change this to 130, what? Okay, so it is clockwise starting from horizontal, which is what I thought, because Unity likes clockwise. Alright, so I think this is all done now, so I'm ready to do the rotation animator. Again, we'll have a lot of code in common with the linear mover, but I think it's best that they're separated. I think it's still worthwhile to copy this over. because there will be quite a bit in common. Alright, so we want to use Unity Engine. I guess I'll just rename this current animation instead of current movement. And yeah, instead of this we'll have float start and float final. And I think Unity, I'm not sure if we'll need to, I guess I'll get to this point, but again, angles, since they wrap around, it's kind of annoying to work with because you want to, say we have one at negative 20 degrees and then one at 60 degrees. The fastest way, oh wait, no, that doesn't work. It'd be at, I guess, 10 degrees and negative 20 degrees. The fastest way would be to go counterclockwise, which is how we'd want the game to actually animate. But most of the time, since the game doesn't really understand that it can go backwards on or both ways, it would just have you go around that way if you just use naive math. So I think to figure that out, I know Unity does have a lot of helper functions to work with angles. We don't need to get the map controller, we can just get an auto controller. Okay, still need to use the namespace there, even though we'll want to change it to rotation. Okay, there it is. Okay, and we can just rename this to register. Alright, so yeah, this is all the same. Okay, and the rotation command, the start angle is the same, except we'll call, well, we actually want to use, maybe we'll use quaternions here because that's easy to lerp between. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. Sometimes, well, we'll look. Yeah, this should work. I know with quaternions, since they're degrees in 3D, or rotations in 3D, sometimes when you lerp between them, they can kind of make things tip to the side. But I think if we just set it so that it always points in the up direction, it should be okay. And get model rotation. Yeah, so it already multiplies degrees. Oh yeah, no arc height. Okay, so timer is easy. Speed. Can you get? I don't know if you can get the different or the length and angles of a rotation from quaternions. That would be easy. Okay, let's see. Unity, get angles between two quaternion. Because our speed is going to be in angles, so... Oh, is it just this? Returns angles and degrees between two rotations. Okay, so that's easy. Okay, so we can just use that. So we want to return quaternion angle. New, okay, I need to rename this, but it should be start angle and new move, final angle. And I wonder, I'm not sure, this could be negative, so I'll just do mathf abs to be careful. Does it say if it's always negative? No, it doesn't, but... Okay, and then that's the same. Let's change this to new animation. And update animation. Okay, so here is the code that we have in common, and I'd like to move it out somewhere. It's basically a static. Let's see. Let's just make a new class, and this will just be animator helper. Can just hold some static functions. Okay, like this one. So we really just need to get well, right now we want to get the time left, so I'll copy this. Public float time left on or in current let's see, in next state. And I will need to pass, I guess, the animator. And then also the layer. So what we'd want to do is, yeah, we'd return this. Okay, yeah, this should be static as well. Okay, so first I'll update the linear mover to use that. I guess it'd just be right here. So animator helper time left in next state. Okay, let's do it like that, and then I'll add the delta time in a line below just to try and keep things cleaner. Okay, so we don't need any of that stuff or that. And I can do the same thing in the rotation animator. In fact, I'll just copy that. Because it's all the same, really. Okay, so here we do change a little bit. Because it's going to, well, we still need to get the rotation and then the time left. But we don't need any of this stuff. All we have to do is set t rotation equals quaternion lerp anim start. I guess I should change that to rotation instead of angle. And then we need to use the easing, so that's pretty easy. Let's change this to start rotation and final rotation instead of using angle, since these actually have quaternions now. And by using quaternions, I think it will get around that tricky case of using clockwise or counterclockwise, because I think it always just picks the quickest rotation between them. Okay, so well, let's see. I'm afraid that the rotation is going to, like I said, over time get to where it's not straight up. So I wonder if I can do this. T dot rotation equals quaternion. Oh, I should actually use slurp here, I just remembered. And that's spherical coordinates, which is if you use this as a as angles, which we are, so we want to do a from to rotation from the current rotation to, we have to do a times equals because we're going to apply this rotation to the current thing. And so we basically just want to make sure this stays facing straight up. So 2 vector 3 up. Would that work? I don't know. I might be trying to solve something that's not needed, so I don't think this would actually work because I think it would make the rotation face straight up. Okay, so let's go back to the map controller and now add this rotator. Okay, so animations, we're done with this. I'll just leave that there in case I need to change, edit it. So we want to do, I guess it's rotation, or I guess I call it rotate. Monster. So I could set it, I want to either be able to pass an angle here, or a facing direction. So let's do facing first, because that's a bit more complicated. So if I want him to, let's just make it all face west. So we'll get the west facing. Oh, I need to do more here. So got the position, and we don't have to do an arc height or anything. So I guess we have these types. Let's just do a timer. And so we can really see what's going on. I'll make it kind of long, and we'll do linear. Put semicolon. Okay, so now we need to go to the Lua interface and add that into the animator. Right here. I don't actually have this yet. I probably will need to make another delegate. Rotate. Yeah, it'll need to be a dynamic value again, but I'll change this to final rotation. And if you haven't seen a delegate, it's just a signature for a specific type of function that we're going to allow to be stored here. Kind of like how we've used the func objects and actions before. But action only lets you have 4 arguments, and we have 5, so that's why we have to do our own delegate. Okay, so do rotate. Actually, it's more like this linear, so I'll copy that over. Final rotation. Everything else stays the same. Alright, so we got that done. Now I need to make the object in the game logic that actually responds to this Lua. So I have the do movement, and this handles linear and arc. Again, this is a lot in common. But it will be a different command, so I don't know. I think we can put the rotation in here. So do rotate equals Lua handle rotation. Now let's go ahead and create this method. So a lot of the stuff we'll need to pull out somehow. Well, not somehow, we'll just make it a separate function. Okay, so this is just in common to the movement, but the synchronized type is in common to all three, and so is the easing. Wait, that's not what I was trying to do. I want to extract. They're not gonna let me extract this. Okay, there we go. Thought I did that already. So, get sync type. Okay, we'll just have out arguments since it's 2. I guess I'll move this up to the top. Is there anything in here that would be different for rotation? I don't think so. Alright, so then we also need to pull out this easing. Easing function, okay, and this is a lot simpler. It only returns one thing. I think I'll move it up above as well. It's really, instead of having all those breaks, I could just return now. I could just turn. I need to take out these breaks as well. Get a little cleaner, I think. Skipped one. Okay, we don't need that, and don't need this either. No, I think it's all happy. So handle rotation. There'll be quite a bit like this, so I'll go ahead and copy as much as I can. Okay, so we have this in common. Cannot call animations in this script. We don't have a vector. Let's change this to target rotation found, and then this will just be float target rotation. I'll set this to 0, I guess. Okay, so if final rotation type is a user data, then it has to be a facing object. Facing, so it'll be final rotation as facing. Okay, so yeah, this is not really useful. So the target rotation is just have this angle, but I don't know what it returns. Okay, so it's actually for Lua. That's a good question. Do I want Lua to use degrees or radians? I feel like degrees are more... Well, no, I'll use radians, I think. Degrees might be a little easier, but like I said, all the math uses radians, so it makes more sense. I don't have to keep converting between them. Okay, so I also don't have that cardinal function here. What did I do? So we want to return facing cardinal, and have I not done this yet? Did I just name it something different? Oh yeah, I just called it create. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so I think this is done. So I guess what I really want, well, I mean this angle does work, but it's for Lua, so I don't know if we want to rely on that. We should probably just use the value and then calculate it again. Let's see, so where is that? Movement. Okay, and otherwise we're assuming that it's a float, but we can actually test that easier. So switch, do a switch statement now, if it will let me. Case, oh, I forgot the opening braces. Oh, it's not gonna give it to me. What is it? Dynamic. I forget the name of the enumeration. Okay, it's just data type. Data type. User data. Not sure why it's getting so confused by this. Okay, and I added a block here just so otherwise this variable would exist in any cases below it, and that just kind of clutters up everything. Okay, so this should be a number. And if it's a number, all we have to do is set target rotation to the number, actually. I don't think we have to do any validation. So final rotation dot number. Why is it not like that? Oh, because it's a double. So yeah, we'll just cast it to a float. It must be facing or number. What's it complaining about there? Oh, because I should rename this distinct type string. And also easing string. Okay, and so this is actually a rotation animation command. There, that's all set up, and then I need to change this to do Rotation, I guess. I should change this to just do movement as well because it might not be linear. Right now the manager doesn't really do much except it just forwards the function to the command if we have everything set up. Oh, I can't rename it because it doesn't exist. Okay, so I want to generate a method for this. And so what's it complaining about now? Oh. Alright, so let's go here. It knows what this is, why did it say object? And I guess I need to get another message here. Okay, I made a typo, it messed up the suggestions, which I didn't want to type it all out. Okay, so command rotation. Set rotation command. Go with that. And now if I just move this down here. So I just gotta send this command. What's it not like? Oh, it's not set rotation command, it's rotation animation. There we go. Okay, so now I think everything is hooked up. Let's try it out. So there's two things I want to see here. Well, I guess first of all that there's no errors when we call the function. But second of all, I want to see that the character rotates the correct way and that the y-axis doesn't start to wobble. Okay, so there was an error. Legal argument type past the target rotation must be a facing or number. Okay, so I did do that. Probably something is wrong here in the validation. Using Lua Interface. Oh, I forgot to set the target rotation found to true. Yeah, doing these complicated validations, there's really not a great way to try and share this same exception because either you have a function call to create this exception, but then you have to have a bunch of else statements, or you do what I've done here with this Boolean, but then you might forget to do it, so I don't know what's the best. So it rotated around the correct way because it was facing here. So I guess if I look at them, okay, so it did wobble ever so slightly. I'm a little confused about this actually. E to the positive 11, so that's like a huge number. Am I reading that right? So really, the only thing that should have a rotation is this Y. So if I set this to 0, okay, well that messed it all up actually. I guess the rotation's being stored in a different way than I would expect, so I should have just left it alone. What happens? Yeah, this is why yeah, quaternions are weird. But it works and it still looks like he's facing straight up. So it's not a... yeah, I don't think I need to worry about it. Okay, so yeah, that's good. Let's try to set him... okay, well let's... instead of rotating west, let's have him face east. Because he'll need to rotate around the other way. And I want to make sure that Unity, or the system, chooses the shortest rotation path. Okay, and it does, which I thought it would. That's a nice thing about quaternions. Okay, and last thing, let's just test passing angle here. First, I want to make sure that 0 is due east. And it is. Now the question is, do I want the mod rotation system to have the same angle as the game logic, or do I want to have it move counterclockwise like most math does? To be honest, I don't know how much the mod system will actually be using Lua, or will we actually be using rotation, but all I would need to do is just whenever we would just negate this value. I'm not sure what I want to do there, but I feel like whatever I do, I need to decide. But really the only reason I'm going clockwise is because that's what Unity chose. It actually doesn't really matter what the mods use. And for the mods, to me it makes more sense if we use the mathematical way where it goes counterclockwise from the positive x-axis, so I think I might negate everything, and if that's the case, all I have to do is that there, and also in the Lua interface. So we have the angle, and I just need to subtract or negate that, and also negate this towards angle. That should do the trick. So basically, yeah, whenever we get a face or an angle from x position, we just need to negate it to change from going clockwise from positive x to counterclockwise from positive x. feel like I should write that down somewhere. Let's just put a comment up here, or how about right here? Angle A equals 0 is due east for the positive x direction, rotates counter clockwise, which is why this b value from x position is negated. Guess I'll put the same thing down here just so I know. Oh, why did I type position? That should be positive. Yeah, at some point, I was thinking that maybe I should write it in my note system, but yeah, at some point I'm going to need to figure out a mod specification sheet, and we'll just need to keep that up to date. Maybe... might want to do that sooner rather than later. Specification notes. So yeah, we'll get to that at some point. Okay, so let's see. Go back to the animation system. I think that we're okay. Well, we need to do a little bit more testing. Now that I've fiddled around with all that, let's play the game and just make sure it still rotates the correct way. Okay, so that's still fine. And if I set it to 30 degrees, let's see what that does. Okay, does the Lua math have high? Because right here I'm trying to convert to radians, obviously. I guess we'll find out. Okay, it does, and so it rotated, okay, to 30 degrees. So yeah, the coordinate system is working fine. Alright, so I feel like rotation is done. Not really. Oh, I guess we should test easing real quick. So let's do cubic. Maybe let's do speed. And so this will be in radians a second. So I'll just do math.pi. That's 180 degrees. So it'll rotate 180 degrees a second. Let's move it so it'll be a little more obvious. Let's do -90. Which should be pointing straight downward. Okay, so something is wrong with speed, apparently. Oh, was it going? I think it might have actually been moving. Oh, you know what? We are giving speed in radians a second, but, and of course Unity Quaternion gives speed in degrees a second, but I think it is actually moving. Let me, yeah, it is. Very slowly. Okay, yeah, this is, I really wish Unity didn't use degrees. Because I could have easily still had you be able to enter degrees in the inspector. I don't know. Yeah, I don't need that open. Oh, it was here all along. So yeah, right here we need to multiply this by the math f radians degrees. I guess well, it shouldn't make any difference. Or wait, yeah, because I need to multiply it before I divide. Or it's the same thing, isn't it? I don't know. This makes me feel better. Did I multiply the right thing? I think I did radians to degrees, so I need to actually do degrees to radians. Hello there. Okay, so that worked. Okay, so now we can test the animation real quick. Looks like I deleted the other testing part. So animations, set, trigger, monster, test. And then we'll want, instead of using speed, we'll just do animation and pass 0 for the first layer. Should I? No, I'll leave this. I was gonna say, I know in Lua you're supposed to index lists starting with 1, but here we're directly working with something that the mod author created in Unity, so. And I think that the animator, open this up. Okay, so the 0 and 1. Oh, it doesn't actually have a number, does it? Do I want... I'm just trying to think about what would be less confusing. The layer ID could be, if it's one index, that's different than how you use it in the Unity API, so somebody who's used to Unity could get confused. But if I leave it 0 index, it's different than everything else in Lua. So why don't we just assume that lists are always 1 in Lua no matter what. So in that case, we do need to subtract 1. Write myself another comment for that. So in animation sync mode sync, or okay, I call it period type here, so that's fine. Animation period mode, period type is the Unity animator layer. It is 1 indexed. Okay, so what I have to do is we would do movement where I get the sync type. Be able to subtract 1 from that, but then we have to say must be greater than 0. Remember, lists in Lua are 1 indexed. Okay, so is that good? I kind of went on a tangent there, but I just realized that. So strange to ever use a 0 as an index in Lua. Okay, so let's make sure this works. What should happen is we set this test parameter or test trigger, and that makes the animator move to this test thing, and the game will synchronize the rotation with that test animation, which I think it takes about a second. Okay, well, it was more than a second, but we could see that when he pulled his feet back is when he went out of the test animation, so it's working good. Let's see that again, actually. Yeah. Okay, so I'm glad we didn't break that. Okay, so are we done with rotation? I think so. Okay, so this was another thing I thought of, that in the animation mode, do we want to let the animator use the normalized time as alert parameter instead of using the timer? And the only reason that that would do anything is, let's move the rotation. So down here, P would be this animator normalized time instead of the period time left. Like I said, the only reason that that would do anything is is because if for some reason the animation time changed during this movement animation, then it would be automatically updated. But in thinking about it further, that still wouldn't be that great because this percent would jump very, what's the right word? Like, not smoothly, because whenever the time changes, it wouldn't like lerp smoothly between those changes. It would just jump to the new percent. So it wouldn't look good anyway, and so yeah, I'm not going to support that because it's just not a good idea. So just delete this. Okay, so one thing is that Quaternion doesn't support easing that goes outside of 0 to 1, like the bounce, because the slurp is clamped. Let me see, is there a way to do an unclamped Quaternion slurp? Unity unclamped Quaternion slurp. Oh, okay, there is a slurp unclamped. So they apply it for this, but not for vector 3 LARP, which, whatever. So we'll want to use this, because then we can use the elastic and other easings that go slightly out of the 0 to 1. Let's see. We can test that here with the elastic. Yeah, I'm really glad that that function already exists because I don't want to have to write it myself. I don't even know how slurp works with quaternions. Oh, that did not work well. What happened there? Oh, I left this on animation, but since I didn't have the set trigger, it didn't actually, there was no animation to synchronize with, so the game just moved me there immediately. Okay, yeah, that's pretty cool actually. Yeah, so we're done. We're done with animations, I think. That means we're done with movement. So next part is going to be kind of interesting. Alright, so if we look at, this has just been all testing. What we really want to do is be able to run animations during an ability selection to action script, which basically converts a player's selection, like, I don't know, egg dino, use, tackle, to the actual actions that that tackle would do. But we want to be able to specify animations between the different actions, and the game will need to remember this and then execute them in between the actions when they actually occur. And the reason that this is a little complicated is because we don't play these animations right away, so we can't use our coroutine system, which we already have set up to do something like this, where the Lua script will pause until the game is ready to keep executing it. We do that to find pathfinding, for example. The reason we can't do that is because we store the actions and then we have to send them over the server and then bring them back before we can even execute any of them. So what's actually going to happen is in this selection to action mode, animations won't play when you call these functions. They'll be stored for later. And then whenever you call this actions freeze function, then the game will know to wait until this specific wait handle has returned, which for movement would be when the movement is done. And then it would execute more animations and it just keep going down the line. So yeah, but I think we actually might start with getting coroutines to work. That seems like an easier way to test this because we already have most of the system up and running. So how we would do that? So we have this. Let's see. So if we have, let's get rid of this. I think so. Animations, move, linear, monster. And then we'll just move it monster position. Let's do position fills, create position column +1 position row, position layer. So we'll just move one column over. So we'll do speed 2 and quadratic out. Okay, so we'll want to wait until this is done so we can call coroutine.yield. And we use the return from this function to pass. What do I do? We pass the return from this function to the coroutine yield, and that means that the coroutine will wait until this animation is done playing. And from then we can move on. Let's do a rotation. We could just do it with a bunch of movements. Try that. Let's do a rotation. So rotate. Monster. Let's do facing utils, and we'll face backwards from where we just moved, so we'll want to face west. Do it different, so timer 0.5, and let's just do sinusoidal. Okay, and then when that's done, it will lerp to the next monster. Oh, yeah, I actually store this position, so I need to +2 right there. Because, yeah, we're just playing an animation, we're not actually moving the monster's board position, so that's why that doesn't update. Okay, so if we try this now, I know the game will throw an error because it won't know what to do with whatever the coroutine system is given. Yes, let's see. Current function cannot access field create of user data. Oh, that's not what I was expecting. Oh yeah, because it can create a board position or a world position now, so create board position, what I need to call. But what I really want to see is what error the coroutine system gives me. Yeah, async yield, script yield without requests. Okay, well let's, it doesn't actually check the argument yet, it just sees that there's no request, so then it yields, then it throws an error. Yeah, here I would say bad yield argument because it's passed something nonsensical. What I need to do is deposit this asynchronous request into the coroutine system whenever the movement or rotation is called. And it's pretty simple, I think. Let's close everything. This is all going to take place in this game logic. We won't have to touch the UX because we already finished everything down there. So I'll do this in the script manager. Have a public or an internal function here. All these functions should be internal actually because nothing will need to interact with this class, I don't think. So I guess, yeah, we'll need to do an int because we have to pass the index back to the commands. Okay, so setup async handle, or I guess request. I don't know if we need to pass anything else to it because it's just this index that matters. Let's look at another class to see the pathfinding specifically to see how it handles it. Or wait, no, the timer is even easier. So where is that? Wait frame handler. Okay, so what this does, yeah, it's just called every frame, I think. See if our request is ready. And what it does is, yeah, it just creates this class. So I think I'll copy this. Okay, yeah, it does need to, oh yeah, we have to pass this back to Lua actually. So we will need here. So we have the index, which I guess that's part, okay, that's not actually passed to Lua. So we'll pass back this open request to the the Lua function handlers. Okay, I need to get this handling script. Oh yeah, because this is the oh, I already got it. Okay. I already knew, but nothing uses it. Okay, well we use it to check if it's a good time to call this. So this object just holds information about the current Lua script that's running. So we already have it. Value.requests add. I guess we really could just use this setup async request instead of having a separate is valid time to call. Well, if it wants to have a custom error, then we'll just leave it like this. So we want to pass this back. Okay, and it uses this index just to keep track of the frame. Yeah, so we'll want to keep track of our count here. So this will be private int request. Or let's call it next request index, and then I'll want to have a hash set of all outstanding requests. So I'm trying to decide where I want to instantiate that hash. So outstanding requests equals okay, so I guess we'll just so that things won't hang. When we exit the in logging state, then the outstanding request should be cleared. Because when we exit there, if there's anything still in there, something's gone wrong. Maybe I should even throw an exception, I don't know. Okay, so next our index equals next request index, and then we increment that. And outstanding request add index. Then we set the index there, and that's really all we have to do. And then I need to implement this is request ready. Let's just put this there. Oh, I just thought of something. Well, we'll always pass this object, but if we're in the logging phase, this is going to work a lot differently. So I should actually clear this here. But I think I actually won't clear it at all. So right now I'm just going to assume that it's not in the logging phase. So if in logging state, we'll throw new not supported. Because if we're in the logging state, we don't create, or basically don't ever pass it to the asynchronous script. Because we can't use it as a coroutine. In fact, I should probably have like an error in the Lua async request handler that tells the game that during this script can't okay, probably what I want to do, I have this forbid animations, but I should probably have another flag that's like log animations instead of trying to keep track of that based on some game state. So instead, the class that actually calls this Lua function would set this, and then it would be able to pull any logged animations and store them wherever it wants. So I think I'll do that, and so we won't have this in logging state right now. But that's going to be used a lot, so let's have, I guess in case anything needs it. No, I don't want anything to ever have to care, so is in logging state. And we'll just use another thing like this. So it would be log animations does not equal 0. And again, this is just a fancy way to test this set of flags. If this animation is set to true, and that means when we press AND, or when we use this bitwise AND operator, that it will spit out some number that's not 0 because they have some flags in common, is one way to understand it. So I actually don't need this anymore. Did I ever hook this up? Oh, I did, but I don't think it's needed. I'll just comment it out for now. So, okay, let me... So I'm working on coroutines right now, actually. And the movement lock is pretty much already done. These are different locks. But for coroutines, throw error if user tries to pass an animation request during or when log animation is true. So I'll need to see how that will work. Okay, so I don't have this in logging state, but I'll just call it is logging state. And this will be the same down here. Okay, so we're just going to assume we're not in a logging state right now. Okay, so the type isn't wait, it's actually animation. These types don't actually matter. I actually set this twice, don't I? Yeah, we create. Wait. Oh, the request and the response. Okay. Type same. And here we need to set something, so this will just be animation. Oh, we already have it. Okay, and then we set the index. We've already added that to outstanding requests. So basically the only thing different is that if we're in a logging state, we won't add it here, and we also won't add that here. And maybe maybe I should just add another value to this async open request that sets, oh no, that wouldn't work. Well, really the async handler will see that this isn't registered and then it will throw an error, but I'd like to give it a better error than just saying something isn't valid, because that won't make much sense if the mod author doesn't know how the system works. So anyway, so I think we're ready. Oh no, I don't. Yeah, this isn't up to date yet. So really all this will work, how this will work is we just check to see if outstanding requests contains the index, so request index. And then I also need to subscribe to a message when the movement animators are done working. I have this wait handle release. Okay, so I'll just grab this. But I won't claim I'll actually subscribe. And this will be on animation released. Okay, so let's see. I'll just pass this down, or move that down there. So if outstanding request contains index, then we'll want to just remove it from outstanding request because it's done. Otherwise, we'll want to throw. Do we want to throw an error? Because this would be something with that's my fault, not something that's part of the game. So I guess we should throw an error because this would be probably cause a hang somewhere. So animation released twice. I could be better by having a more descriptive exception there, but fine with me. Okay. Let's do it this way. Animation released when not outstanding. Well, okay. Yeah, I guess we would, even if we're in logging state, we'd still add the index here to the outstanding requests. Well, maybe it depends how we handle it, because when we're actually playing the animations later, we'd still need to wait or listen for when they're released to know when to move on. So, I don't know. Okay, so I actually accidentally left this running the whole time. I think there's still a little bit more I need to do, I just remembered. In the Lua asynchronous request handler, I need to have it register this new query. So Dot animation. I forgot I was so fancy there. And did I register the right one? Okay, no, I left this as wait frame, so animation. Yeah, I think everything is good to go. But I guess if I... Oh, well, no, because the scripts haven't even called this setup asynchronous request yet, so that would be here in the do movement. The set animator parameters don't ever use a synchronous request, so okay, so we'll get the synchronous request here. I don't remember what it's called, so I'll just say async equals manager get our setup async request. You don't have to pass it anything, and the wait handle is async index. I can do the same thing down here in rotation, and that's it. Okay, so I think now everything's set up. Check those. The database is not used. Already claimed exception was thrown. I probably forgot to do an archetype. Oh, that's not gonna help me much. An animation script manager. Oh yeah, right here. I just need to pass the command message archetype. Okay, let's see what it started to move and then it got an error. Illegal easing type given. I knew Soodle. Well, I shouldn't have gotten to that part yet. So I know that something is wrong because it's just moving through these coroutines. It should wait for one to finish and then start the other. Okay, so right here, new turn yielded resuming script with asynchronous response. Yielded. Okay, so yeah, I just did everything all at once in the same frame, so I'm assuming that thing is wrong here when I turn out sending request ready. Oh, this should be returns. Yeah, it contains, like it doesn't contain it. Okay. Yeah, now it's doing it one at a time, and then rotating, and then this one start to move afterwards. And now it's done and we're in the selection phase. Now we can see that the game still thinks the monster's over here. That's because when I animate, it doesn't actually do anything. I'm not going to worry about that. It'll be up to the mod authors to reset the positions. Okay, so that was pretty painless. There, I want this. I guess I should... This should go actually during halting actions. Okay, we just tested movement lock. That's good. Okay, so now we're gonna get into the meaty part and try to handle animations during actual ability. First, let me look through and we'll just go one at a time. So we have rotate, jump facing, okay, and this is wrong. The 180 is just math pi. Oh, but that was in speed, so yeah, that's fine anyway. Math pi. So what this is going to do, it's going to have the user rotate towards the facing that it's going to jump to. And then it should do an actions freeze. Now, what do I want to call this? Maybe instead of freeze it, something like actions wait, or even just wait would be make more sense. Okay, also, every time a script is called, I need to set the forbid animations. And now that I think about it, I should probably just flip things around and have an allow animations instead of forbid. Where's the... So I have forbid stat requests. I almost think if I should switch these to allow stat requests. Let me see. Because the only time that stat request should happen is only a few places. So I will switch this to allow. I don't know why I did forbid first, because it seems like it should be a special privilege to be able to do it. And I'll do the same thing here. Okay, so now I need to go update all this stuff. So when is this? This is get targets. Yeah, so we don't want to allow anything, animations or stat requests, so that's good. Lua, no. New turn, we do want to allow animations. I guess I should just look at all the Lua callers and see. This is get targets. And here we want to allow that requests and allow animations and also log animations, because this is where the magic happens that we're working towards. After turn effect. Okay, this does the same thing as the other one, as the one we just did, so yeah, allow stat requests and allow animations and also log animations. Interface. That's not it. Oh wait. The ability usable. confused. Okay, yeah, so the get targets, yeah, this is wrong actually. Get targets gets like the available actions or like selections that player can take. It's actually this selection to action that we're working towards. Some of the names for these classes I didn't do too well. Sort players. We want to be able to do stat requests but no animations. And the stat sheet detector, neither. I don't even think that's asynchronous. Okay, so that's not it. Okay, so we're done with that. Let's close, I guess, everything. Yeah, let's just start with a clean slate. Okay, oh, and here, yeah, I need to change this to allow animations, and it's not 0 now. Okay, is there anything I forgot? Okay, good, looks like everything's fine. Well, did I delete? No, it's still there. Let's just make sure that it still works. Okay. And I'll go ahead and just try to execute a move command because that way you can see how far the game will get. Oh, requested feature is not implemented. Why was this being called? That animation parameter. Oh, because it already moved to selection actions. That was quick. Okay, so that is actually perfect because what's happening is it got all the way to here where it tries to set a boolean and then the game says not implemented at this point because it got to right here where it's trying to log the animation command. Okay, so not sure exactly what I want to do here. I want the logger to be able to store all these commands somehow. Speaking about this, I need to make sure that all the position commands are structures. Okay, I do have 2 classes, that's not needed, or just 1 actually. So okay, so this logger, I guess we'll do this part first. It needs to have some data structure to store all the commands. And I can either just store the command objects that are passed, which would probably be the simplest, except they're structures. So they can't be like cast as objects very easily. Or I can have like some other object that just keeps track of all that data and we convert between the two. That might work, but I mean it's kinda haphazard. Also, I just realized what would happen. Let's see. What happens if a player disconnects between generating actions and animation order? And the and the execution phase. Because what would happen here is we don't send animations to the server, or even like when the actions have to wait. So if a player disconnects, then they could, well, the game would have to actually crash. So I guess that wouldn't matter. I think the only way that they would lose this information and is if they crash, because otherwise, in order for the server to, because so what I'm thinking is basically the player has to lose the animation order, but the server has to have the actions, and in that case the server would move on to the next phase without the player. And I don't know how the player would be able to get this order back, because they can only get the actions back from the server. But in order for that to happen, like I said, if the player crashes, which would be one way, then everybody would have to exit back to the lobby to reload anyway. I think I'll need to look, but and in which case it won't matter. But if they just like lose internet, they'd still have this order. So, and then yeah, they still have this order. So it's not like they'll have to regenerate it. Oh yeah, I'll have to look into that. So if crash, all players would have to exit to lobby, right? So it doesn't matter. But if we just get disconnected for a bit, then could the client ever lose the action or the animations? Hi, Smelly Orc. The client has command, as in client has animations, but the server tells the client what to do. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. It's just I'm wondering if there's some way that the client could crash and it would lose the animations, and then it asks the server what the actions were, and the server doesn't actually store the animations, so then the client would have the actions but no animations, and so the game would just look weird. I don't know if that, like I just said, I don't know if that can ever happen, but I'm trying to do a thought experiment about it. Alright, so here, actually, I only have a few more minutes left. So I'm not sure if it's worth it to get started on this. But basically I can either have some class that would just like store these different command structures as is, or try to convert them to something else. Okay, well I guess I'll take the time in between streams to decide about that. I mean, it's about the same. And tell the client what animation is. Server says play as animation. Yeah, that well, the server doesn't even care about animations, so that's the whole reason that I was curious about that, because it's possible that the client would have like a list of actions to execute, but, and in my lingo I'm using actions to mean like things that actually affect the gameplay. So the game would have like gameplay actions, but it wouldn't know the animations to play in between them. So I mean, worst comes to worst, it would just play something choppy. But yeah. Okay, but I guess I'll wrap up the stream now. It's been about 2 hours, so thanks everybody for coming by and watching. I really appreciate it. I feel like we got a lot done today. But yeah, I'll have to think about how I want to store these animations or store the animation commands for later. If anyone like to be notified when I go live tomorrow, it should be about 8:30 Eastern. Feel free to follow me here, or also I'll post about it on Twitter. And I do have a YouTube channel if you'd like to be notified or watch past streams. And I have a Discord channel as well. If anybody would like to join, we'd love to have you there. You can reach any of those places by typing !YouTube, Twitter, or Discord in chat, or by looking in my channel or video description. And yeah, that's about it. Again, thanks everybody for coming by, and I hope you have a great night. Bye-bye.